While the West has been busy slapping sanctions on Russia, the country has been quietly working to topple the US dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. That's right, Russia has been waging a financial war that could have huge implications for the global economic order. The dollar is now weaker than ever thanks to massive deficit spending in the wake of the pandemic. Could this be the opening that Russia needs to make its move and dethrone the dollar once and for all? In this video, we'll explore the dramatic story of how Russia is working to kill the dollar and what it could mean for the future of the world's financial system. Before I start, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay updated on all our latest videos. You may know, the BRICS nations have been growing closer, with a shared goal of reshaping the dollar-dominated financial landscape. As part of their efforts to protect their interest among geopolitical tensions with the US and potential future sanctions, Russia and China are leading the charge in reducing the group's reliance on the US dollar. India, Brazil, and South Africa are also on board, supporting calls to reform the global monetary system and encouraging the use of national currencies in international trade. The BRICS countries are working together to challenge the US dollar's dominance by creating a common currency and monetary unit within their sphere of influence. They're exploring the idea of a basket currency, similar to the special drawing rights, SDR. However, the extent to which each country is willing to commit its foreign exchange reserves to this new initiative remains uncertain. All BRICS nations are keen on diversifying their economics to reduce their vulnerability to outside shocks and currency fluctuations caused by the US dollar. Yet the challenges presented by their heavy reliance on the dollar may make the dream of a reserve currency a distant reality. Despite these obstacles, the BRICS countries remain determined to secure their global financial interests by continuing to develop this alternative currency. It's no secret that when a country steps out of line, sanctions are often the first tool used to bring them back in check. And when Russia invaded Ukraine, it was clear that a stronger response was needed. So the United States and Europe put their heads together and came up with some pretty serious economic penalties. One of the most significant measures was cutting off Russian banks from the SWIFT network. This meant they couldn't send or receive foreign currency, which would have a devastating impact on their ability to do business. In fact, it would have led to a mass exodus of foreign investment and severely impacted their main source of income from commodity exports. But that wasn't all. Another major penalty was the freezing of Russia's foreign currency reserves, a move that some economists called the nuclear option. With over $600 billion in assets held in banks in the US, Japan, and the EU, this was a massive blow to Russia's financial stability. Of course, these sanctions didn't come without consequences. The ruble's value took a major hit, and Russia's economy was struggling to stay afloat. But interestingly, the ruble-to-dollar exchange rate went up, even though the penalties were harsh. Despite these challenges, Russia has managed to keep things moving. They were allowed to use their foreign assets for energy payments, and while their government debt came dangerously close to defaulting, they're still working to meet their obligations. It just goes to show that even in the face of intense economic pressure, countries can find a way to weather the storm. When it comes to economic conflict, few things strike at the heart of a country's power quite like its currency. And in Russia's case, they've aimed at the almighty US dollar. Even though the West put sanctions on Russia, the country's natural gas exports to Europe did not change, and so Russia wasted no time in taking action to peg the value of their currency, the ruble, to gold. To do this, the Russian central bank launched a buyback program for private banks' gold at the rate of 5,000 rubles per gram. By effectively establishing a floor for the ruble against the dollar, gold became a valuable commodity that could be purchased with devalued rubles and resold for profit in the form of US currency. The next step was to require rubles as payment for natural gas exports. This had a big effect on Germany, which gets a lot of its gas from Russia. This helped support the ruble's value and further bolstered Russia's balance of payments. The Russian central bank's continued purchases of gold made the price of Russian natural gas equal to the price of gold. This meant that Russia could continue to sell gas and other commodities in exchange for gold, further stabilizing their currency. As a result of these developments, the ruble's stability against the dollar became an unintended consequence, and if other nations begin paying for Russian exports in gold, Russia's balance of payments could be further strengthened. It just goes to show that in the world of economic warfare, even small moves can have major implications for global power dynamics. The world's financial system is a complex web of relationships and agreements, and when one country makes a move, it can have far-reaching implications for the rest of the world. Russia has felt the effects of economic and monetary restrictions very strongly, but what's even more concerning for the U.S. is the possibility of direct trade between China and India outside of the SWIFT system, a development that could seriously undermine the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. Even though these restrictions are all around Russia, it is unclear whether nations like China and India will be eager to pursue Russian exports at a discount, and the seizure of Russian foreign reserve assets has also created a sense of unease among other countries, who could now worry that their assets could be frozen if they displease the US and its allies. This nuclear choice has the potential to damage relationships between trading partners, which is both a benefit and a drawback. No one knows if India will think about diversifying its dollar assets into other currencies, but it is clear that the progress of the Iran nuclear agreement has made things more complicated. The Saudis in particular see it as a rejection of the original petrodollar deal, which could be another blow to the dollar's position as the world's most important currency. And if OPEC nations start selling oil transactions in currencies other than the dollar, it could spell even more difficulties for the US currency in the near future. All in all, it's a complex situation with no easy answers, and the global financial system is sure to feel the impact for years to come. In the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the ruble took a major hit, dropping 40% to 139 rubles to the dollar. So when Russia made it clear last week that it preferred ruble payments from European countries purchasing its natural gas, it seemed like a good idea, at least at first. But something unexpected happened. The ruble rebounded, and it rebounded strongly. The ruble's sharp and steady recovery in March made it the best performing currency worldwide. As the time of publication, it was exchanging hands at a rate of 84 to the dollar, the same value it held just before the attack. But how did this happen? After all, the sanctions imposed at the start of the war are still in effect, and in some cases they are even stronger than before. The answer is complicated, but a combination of factors likely played a role. For one thing, Russia's central bank launched a buyback program for private banks' gold, which helped establish a floor for the ruble against the dollar. And even though sanctions remained in place, some countries may be finding ways to work around them. Of course, the situation is still evolving, and it's hard to say what the future holds for the ruble and the global financial system. But for now, it's clear that Russia has managed to weather the storm and come out on top. Despite the sanctions imposed on Russia, there are still cracks in the wall. One major loophole is natural gas, a product that several European nations still import from Russia, despite the restrictions on foreign currency access. Another loophole worth mentioning is the sovereign debt carve-out. Even though the freezing of Russia's foreign accounts was one of the most significant and widespread sanctions, Russia still has about $640 billion worth of foreign currencies in its banks all over the world. The U.S. Treasury initially blocked certain payment processors from working with Russia, but then allowed them to continue, a move that has been very helpful to Russia. If they had to sell rubles to collect dollars, it would have weakened the currency's value and potentially led to default. All of this just goes to show that while sanctions can be a powerful tool, they're not foolproof. There are always ways for countries to work around them, and in some cases, loopholes can even benefit the sanctioned country. As the global financial landscape continues to evolve, it will be interesting to see how these dynamics play out. What do you think, guys? What will be the long-term consequences of Russia's economic and monetary restrictions on the global financial system, and how will this affect the future of the dollar as the world's reserve currency? Let us know in the comment box below. Thanks for watching!